All right,
yeah.
welcome to our Friday Flex.
About to flex.
And hopefully your Friday's going really well. And this is your host, Keith and Joseph. We are happy to be here today. We are doing our part 2. Let the light shine on you.
Yes, let my soul glow.
The effulgence. So we're doing part 2 of Pacifiers. It's a 2-part series. And then next week, very soon after that, we'll do the Garden series.
We'll discuss that.
Yeah. So last week we talked about some of the pacifiers, and pacifiers are things in which are supposed to bring peace.
Right, that's the correct meaning.
That's the correct meaning
of the word,
yeah.
to bring about peace.
But we find in society today that the things that we use to bring peace are actually not bringing us peace. They're actually avoidance, or they are ways to kind of hide from the state of existence that we're living in that we're not really happy with. So the 4 common things that were mentioned were sleep. In order to avoid something, we go to sleep, or we take a vacation, we take some form of intoxication, or we binge on television.
Video games are my favorite binge, if you can call it a binge.
Well, yeah. My grandmother used to call it TV the one-eyed monster.
The one-eyed monster.
Yeah. So those are the 4 common types of pacifiers. But also there are positive pacifiers, means the actual meaning of peace. And so one of those one of the methods is study of something consciously elevating. Meaning, for example, what we're doing now would be a pacifier, because it is bringing peace to the mind. It is allowing those who may have some difficulty to take something away in which will allow them to add to the repertoire and bring them to a state of calmness or equilibrium, and ultimately peace. And or the concept of personal development, because this idea of personal development is just that we're developing our person, and so.
Hi, person. How are you doing, person?
So
let's develop together.
so personal development is one of those things. Also, any type of sports or some type of cardiovascular action, health.
Basically just health. Gotcha.
Taking care of one's health, yes. Because when the body is in a good position, then it makes it easier for the mind to be in a good position. Because we notice if the body is not in a state of health or good health, then the mind also follows. Yes.
But there are exceptions. I'll give an example.
Okay.
A lot of times when we think of health, just our physical person, is that it's a reflection of what's going on inside. And so when we think of Sir Isaac Newton and the laws of motion, is that an object in motion stays in that direction or in motion until there's an outside force that hits it and moves it in another direction. And so I'm mentioning this because sometimes when we actually have a paradigm shift in our life, meaning when we change our perspective or how we think and see the world around us, and a lot of times the action tends to follow. I'll give an example. I'm not sure, I think they can hear us. Yeah. So one thing that my mom did one time was she put the whole family on Weight Watchers.
Oh, you're on Weight Watchers.
But it
Okay.
wasn't that we went on Weight Watchers and then she made a mental decision to do something. It was she saw some pictures, family photos. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you see certain things, you see yourself from different angles. Front, side, back. You're what?
You're like, I got an extra chin somewhere.
Don't be talking about my mama like that. No. But when you see something that you're not happy with, in other words, and in your mind, or at least you have that humility and the honesty to say, you know what? I need to work on this. And then when your mind is in that specific direction and you're receiving knowledge or information from either a dietitian or a nutritionist or someone like that deals with health and well-being, then you start thinking about it and you're coming to a conclusion that, you know what, this can be done. And wow, I have tools. And I have support, like a coach or someone, and I can start taking things on, and then they start physically doing it. And my mother has done it, and she lost a lot of weight, and she looks great. She looks 26.
26. You hear that? You look 26.
So that's what I mean. Sometimes when we hear something, were we having a conversation about? Maybe it was on a last flex that we had in regards to things that enter into our subconscious.
Okay.
And, it was last week.
Was it last week? Okay.
It enters into our subconscious because I was mentioning how I was listening to a tape, cassette tape. It's been a while, right? Of your mom's teacher. And I would listen to it at night. Like as I'm getting ready to go to sleep and so forth, and how I was able to recall so much from that tape because it was entering into my subconscious. And so when we look at advertisements, billboards, all the various different signs that we come across as we're driving down the road or watching TV or even listening to the radio or what to speak of a magazine, it's touching us. We may brush it off and say, oh, I'm not going to worry about it or think about it. But it still enters into our subconscious. And eventually we end up acting on it because that's the first thought that comes to mind. Oh, I've seen this somewhere. Have you noticed some of the off-brand products look very similar to the on-brand products or major products or name brand?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't remember if it was this one or that one, but you see that one detergent that says Sun, and at least it looks kind of similar to Tide, and you're like, maybe that was the one I had seen, and that's the one you grabbed. It was like the price is right, that's the one you grabbed. So that's what I mean by sometimes we may hear something, we may a change in our thinking, and then where the mind goes, the energy flows. Sometimes you might hear that saying from time to time. It's been a while, but I remember hearing that saying.
Wasn't there now? Mind you, this was some time ago. I think there was a great group of poets.
Oh,
what do you call female poets? Poets, I guess it's poets. In vogue.
Oh,
it said, "Free your mind, and the rest will follow." Is that what it was? Okay. This is philosophy.
It's philosophy. There's four beautiful poets.
Yes. They said it very beautifully. Free your mind, the rest will follow.
Chatur Kumar, you see?
So, but yes, to what you're saying is very true. And I so that brings me to another point that I heard yesterday, and I heard it before, and you mentioned it a year or so ago, and this was the 4 types of competence and incompetence. So you have the unconscious incompetence, the conscious incompetence, the conscious incompetence, or let's do this again. So the unconscious incompetence, the conscious incompetence, the conscious competent, unconscious competence, and then conscious incompetence. Conscious competence.
Sounds like someone is unconscious and incompetently speaking right now. We've seen the first one in action at this moment.
You see, it works really easy. So you have so the first one is unconscious incompetence, meaning that we don't know that we don't know. We're just acting in such a way that we're just oblivious.
Yeah.
Just like
like a smurf, just smurfing it up, just kind of doing it, but unconsciously.
Yeah. So, for example, I know a lot of times in our community, we will do. I'll use my family as an example.
No.
I'll use my
Make
family.
it an educational example.
Educated. You mean going to school?
No, I mean, don't use your family. Don't broadcast nobody.
No, I won't throw any names out there. But
It's too late now. You said your family.
nobody knows which one. There's so many of them. So
I tried to save you all.
So we would, when I was a child, there would be certain things that I would, as a kid, get fed, because that was what, my family
was fed.
Was
basically.
fed.
Confirmed.
And then you think about these items, and they go back all the way to slavery. Mm-hmm. And they were and then you find out these were just the remnants of, we were just getting scraps.
Yeah.
And so, we, as a community, for the most part, we know how to cook, so we can turn something not so good in nature to, put some salt, some onions and garlic, and some bay leaves on it, and you're set.
Old Bay, put a little Old Bay on it.
Old Bay on it.
And Lowry seasons, you all set.
You have to have Lowry's. You have to have Lowry's. And so, but these things, even though they had their source in a time period which was not we were just given scraps.
Right.
And so fast forward to our previous, generations, these same things were eaten. Mm-hmm. And those same things were causing problems within the community. And so we were eating those things which were not healthy. So that's unconscious incompetence.
Yeah. Still goes on today, very much so.
And it still goes on today.
Unfortunately.
So then you have conscious incompetence, meaning you're aware of the fact that, hey, this is going on, and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway.
I have a professor that made that statement. I'll tell you. I won't say the professor's name.
Do it.
No. Well, he probably, you never know.
I mean, it's be a good wake-up call to him. No, don't do it.
Wake up! So I have one professor in the university, and for those that know me, I have a degree in environmental sciences. So I did.
He's a scientist.
Twan. If you know In Living Color, I'm referencing that if you know that scene. Men on films. Now Twan. But anyway, so it was I cannot remember if it was a cellular biology or just microbiology. I know it wasn't micro, it was cellular biology. So I had one professor explain to everyone in class that the energy coming from the sun, when plants take that energy up into their being. If you were to eat those plants, you're going to get about a third of the energy from the sun, is what he said. And then if someone was to eat the animal that ate that plant, you only get a third of that energy from that animal. So what, in short, the math is you have the energy from the sun, a third of the energy is there in the plant, but if you eat the animal, you only get a third of that sun. So in other words, you're only getting about maybe 10%, or 11% of the energy from the sun. A ninth, 1/9 of the energy from the sun if you're eating animals. And so the professor was like, even though I know this, I'm still going to eat meat anyway. I don't care. and everyone has their free will. He can do whatever he wants to. But it was just in terms of the energy coming from the sun, he just openly made that statement that, hey, I know I'm not getting all the energy from the sun, but this is my personal choice. And I was like, hey, you're entitled to it.
I'll just stand out in the sun a little longer today. But then you have conscious competence, meaning that you are aware of what is to be done and you're doing it. And then you have, which is considered like the highest, unconscious competence, meaning that it is so built within you that without knowing that you're having to think about it, it's being done automatically. So generally, so for example, like I noticed you're unconscious competence. So on
maybe in some things and maybe in other things I'm not.
I'll be very specific. So when you're cooking, I noticed that you will, just out of habit, you will clean up as you go. And for most people, that does not happen. That is just, these will pile on and become an eyesore for the next couple days. Conscious incompetence or, whatever. But that's something that I've noticed you do unconsciously, but you're competent in it.
I'm a competent dishwasher. What can I say?
It's in the genes.
It's in the khakis.
So I'm referencing these four types of competence and incompetence to say that while we are on this topic of pacifiers, the point is to be conscious about what different pacifiers are, and to consciously become competent in using adequate pacifiers.
Yeah.
Because without understanding that it was a Latin word, what was the Latin word for Pacifier? Oh, that's not Latin. That would be French. Hold on. I don't know. Go ahead.
It's like pacificare or pacificare, something like that.
I was close.
Yeah.
I was close.
And then, of course, the other Latin is PAX, pax, or sometimes, meaning peace. You see that around the time of Easter, when you look for the dies for the Easter eggs. Sometimes you'll see PAX, pax on there, for peace, because it's for Easter. So, peace.
Peace. So, to that point, by understanding the different types of unfavorable pacifiers, and learning the favorable types of pacifiers, and then becoming from a state of unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence, and then we become unconsciously competent in the sense of we didn't even know this was actually for, like, we didn't know that what we're doing on a day-to-day basis is bringing us actual peace.
Right.
And so this is ideally, of course, we're only talking ideally. This is where we kind of want our life to direct us towards. One in which, without knowing, we are literally doing we're being our own well-wisher.
That's important because so many of us, we don't realize it. It's very subtle. But a lot of times we are not our friend at all. And we beat ourselves up every day and day in and day out. And and we're not our well-wisher. And as you were speaking, I was thinking of some individuals who, and again, you have to correct me on making sure I get it, the right order of everything, but someone who is conscious of what they're doing. Like, they know what they're doing, yet they're so conscious, incompetent in the sense that they still don't do the right thing, Spike Lee. And they think that if they continue, maybe there's an aspect of denial, or maybe there's some fear, maybe there's other things that are there playing in that in terms of why they're not able to move a certain way. But I was speaking to one client the other day, and he shared something with me that when you have an individual who, in short, is doing the same thing over and over and over again, yet they're expecting a different result, is a sign of insanity. And when I thought about that,
That's what the client said.
Yeah, that's what the client said. Yeah, because he was sharing like all these different quotes that he had learned from his dad and so forth. And I was like, wow, this is amazing stuff. And I was just thinking of various scenarios in which, even though we may have resources, we may have tools, and then at the same time we do not take the opportunity to uplift ourselves, then we really don't have anyone to blame. Like, in other words, we cannot complain if we, as individuals, choose not to make a decision. You understand what I mean? There's some individuals that they try to find the blame with everyone else, but instead of looking at themselves and accepting the fact that they are the ones that is preventing their own success, or they're the ones that are preventing their own, progress and advancement. But instead, they're thinking, oh no, it's that person or this situation or that condition, or, why do bad things happen to me? Some people will state that, oh, there's always something bad always happening to me. And it's like, no, it's not that, when I think of Jim Rohn, it's not that, change, like if one's life is going to change, it's not that it just happens by chance. Jim Rohn says one's life changes by choice. The great philosopher E40, he even
what he said?
points out, he says that everyone has choices.
Yes, everyone has choices.
And a lot of times we choose not to choose, we choose wrong. When we want to choose wrong. And I think sometimes of different individuals that I know, and in my mind, I like there's only so much one can actually do. You know, it really at the end of the day has to be a decision within that individual in order for that individual to make steps in the right direction. You know.
Yeah, as far as being one's own well-wisher, we have to realize that because we don't know generally what kindness is, it's difficult to be kind to ourselves.
Kindness, generosity, charitable,
compassionate.
Yeah. Forgiveness.
And forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we think, and of course there should be compassion there, but we think we should only be compassionate to another human being, but we're not compassionate to our own being, ourselves.
Right.
And so so we often remove ourselves from the equation. And because we get removed, that means we get neglected. And then we start neglecting ourselves. And then therefore we don't matter. So you find people that put other people over themselves because they feel like they don't matter as much as this other person may matter. And so it is that lack of understanding of one's value of oneself that we mistreat our own self. And therefore, we come up short in a lot of our relationships because we don't, we're the glass that we're giving from, or the cup that we're giving from, or the vessel is not full.
You can't give what you don't have.
You can't give what you don't have. And so if you're not working on,
I ain't got
it. And so we find ourselves easily frustrated when someone doesn't meet our expectations because like that lack of compassion or understanding is not even within ourselves to give to somebody else. Because we very rarely put ourselves in someone's shoes. But when we can think, if we can be compassionate, say, I know I've messed up, so therefore, in the past, so therefore, let me be kinder to this person.
Right.
But the goal is first of all to identify the needs that we have within ourselves. And I'm making sure I don't say wants.
Yeah. No, when we say needs, because I remember in different workshops and seminars that I've attended, sometimes there's like needs, interests, and concerns. Would that fit in terms of needs? When you say needs, that is?
The idea of self or being one's well-wisher? Or
you were mentioning that one has to recognize the needs within themselves.
Right.
And so in terms of as a human being or an individual, everyone has needs, interests, and concerns. And that could be in any type of group, could be in a family, could be in a relationship, could just be them by themselves, so on and so forth. And I was just curious when you mentioned recognizing the needs that one may have, or you could call them just personal needs, aside from deodorant, toothpaste, and soap.
Yeah.
But aside from those, do those needs, when you say needs, does that include like interests that someone may have or concerns, or is just, maybe I'm trying to say, further elaborate on the word needs.
Okay, yes. So needs would be something in which, in order to maintain a healthy mental, physical lifestyle, those things which are mandatory to be done. Acknowledging, addressing those, facilitating those areas. That would be the needs. So what I'm saying is that we should be able to first know what we need, and be able to identify ways to get these needs facilitated. And so one of the biggest elements in understanding one's needs, or at least in achieving one's needs, is to develop knowledge.
Knowledge got to be there.
Right.
It has to be there, yeah.
Or you'd be unconsciously incompetent.
True.
Yeah, exactly. So these four categories, which are brilliant, show up in every different parts of our life. And so we have to be able to understand, to know if we're doing something, we have to take inventory of those things in which we do and ask ourselves, are we conscious about why we're doing this? And identify, okay, now I know I'm consciously doing this, but why? What is my why? Is my why because I saw it on PBS? Or is my why because I saw on YouTube?
Or that's just what we do.
Or that's just what we do.
In terms of like the family, that's family tradition, cultures, stuff like that.
Or I heard on a podcast, Keith and Joseph mentioned it, without properly investigating and properly analyzing these things. And so when we're not in knowledge, then we will do things in which will be what society we see now as the negative pacifiers.
Yeah.
And so if we can put ourselves in a position where we can become knowledgeable about, okay, this thing that I'm doing, I am escaping reality. What did, was it C.S. Lewis or C.W.S. Lewis?
There's a C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, there's a C.S. Lewis.
I heard a quote about him yesterday. It was really fascinating. And it was saying, or he was saying that if the happiness that is available here is still not, in this world, is still not bringing me peace or the level of happiness that I want, that must mean I'm made for a realm that is different from this one.
Well, that sounds like something that C.S. Lewis would say, because from a Roman Catholic background or upbringing, we used to read a lot of his books. He would write a lot of books for the Catholic Church. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
So understanding, okay, this life, if I can get a little deeper, this life has more meaning than just engaging in rumors or engaging in this ism or that type of political agenda or that type of social agenda or all these other different things that are by nature temporary.
At the end of the day, yeah, it's just temporary.
And so I remember yesterday hearing audio from a yoga teacher, a renunciate actually, and he said, small minds talk about people, medium minds talk about events, and great minds talk about higher realities or something along that line. And so we spend most of our time talking about people or just events. Now, saying that doesn't mean that certain things should not be addressed with other people or certain events should not be addressed.
Right.
It doesn't mean that. It just means that the focus should not be those things. Because when we focus on things that are temporary by nature, we are forced to accept also those pleasures or those happiness, that happiness, which is also temporary by nature.
Temporary by nature.
Temporary by nature.
Eternal by nature.
Yes.
Not naughty by nature.
Eternal by nature.
Just eternal by nature.
Yeah. So, this is what I was thinking, and I'm like, how do we, as individuals, how do we bring about real peace in society? Give people real pacifiers.
Oh wow.
You know, and this idea of bringing real peace to other people, like legitimate peace.
Yes.
That is philanthropy.
It's beyond that. It's the highest level, you can say. Yeah. Real happiness, real peace.
You know, so we think about this, the function of the human being, and we're not meant to just work all day, 12 hours, 20 hours. We're not meant to just involve our minds in things that don't properly stimulate it.
Right.
However, we notice that, as you mentioned, these advertisements are constantly getting our attention, whether we know it or not. And I think you mentioned in French, it's
avertissement.
Avertissement means warning.
Like warning. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Right. So crazy.
Avertissement, it means warning. You see it on regards to the airbag, you know, on the little visor, sun visor in the car. You pull it down, it says avertissement. You know, or sometimes you'll see it on other appliances too. It's warning, you know, caution, stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting that how many of us really give ourselves a chance to just stop and, for lack of better words, disconnect from all of the hats that we wear. Because we all may have a plethora of responsibilities, you know.
Right.
And so to be able to just stop, take all those hats off, put them all to the side, and actually be able to, for lack of better words, check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Yeah. And to really see what is my true purpose. I mean, if we were to do take the camera, go out into the street and ask someone, who are you? Or what is the purpose? You know, what is your purpose in life? You know, many of us wouldn't have an answer. You
We
know?
ain't got it.
And then if one did have an answer, most of those answers would probably be something tied to something on a temporal level. And then you'll find another set of individuals who would give an answer that was more on the eternal, understanding of an eternal aspect of one's being and existence, that one having a higher purpose or a higher calling aside from the responsibilities or duties that they may execute on a day-to-day basis. But just to find individuals that actually think about that is not often that you come across it, because we're so engrossed in what happened to Shanae down the street, you know, what's going on with Tyrone and Watermelon Andrea and, you know, Star Keisha and all these other different personalities. And we like drama so much because we think that's giving some proper stimulation, you know, but really at the end of the day, it only causes more stress, more frustration. Then we find ourselves eating all the wrong things, you know, just the high, salty snack foods, you know, things that will, health-wise, you know, having to deal with things like hypertension, high blood pressure, which is actually considered to be a silent killer within our community. If it's not number one, it's number two. And many of us, we're not checking our health, you know, just to make sure that, you know, we're healthy. So it's just something that, you know, I think about from time to time, that, you know, how to, I guess, bring knowledge to others in a way where others start thinking about life and more importantly, their purpose in life. Again, beyond just going, you know, waking up, going to work, eat, you know, go to sleep, you know, or sometimes we hear in certain texts, sleeping, eating, mating, and defending, you know, to go beyond that, you know, of living a life on a hamster wheel. You know, but actually seeing that there is much more to life than just the hamster wheel.
Yeah, the rat race. A lot of people a lot of people like to say. But it's easy because to do that, because that's what we see, and because by nature we adapt to our surroundings. We see this is how things are, so therefore I gotta do that. I can't be different. I can't think differently than my friends think. I can't think differently than my family thinks. I have to do that which is normal.
I'm not a man if I don't do it this way.
Right.
Sometimes you get that as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we think that, oh, you know, if you cry or if you, you know, accept certain emotions, you know, or if you acknowledge your emotions and how you're feeling, if you, you know, do so many different things, then you're not a man, you know, suck it up, you know, get on with it, you know. And it's interesting how we do that to ourselves within society, or we do that to others within society, that, you know, if you, you know, are concerned about health or concerned about all these different things, that you're not, you know, a man. If you, oh, you cry, you have emotions, or, you know, oh, you're not a man, what's wrong with you? It's like, no, we're human beings. I mean, in one sense, you can say, yes, we're human beings. We're going to have emotions. We're going to be concerned about so many different things within the world. And just to artificially suppress those emotions, or you could say try to sweep things underneath the rug, it weighs heavy on our conscience, and it doesn't just disappear on its own. I mean, it stays there, it lingers, and it kind of gets the snowball effect where it gets bigger and bigger and heavier to a point where eventually, you know, you have some people who, you know, they can't drink it away or they can't smoke it away, you know what I mean, in terms of trying to intoxicate or self-medicate is really what it's called. Right. They can't eat it away, you know. And there's some individuals who, you know, they think that if I just keep eating and keep like emotional eaters,
Right,
keep
right,
doing
right,
this,
right.
or emotional drinkers or emotional smokers, whatever it may be, that it'll solve the problem, but it just causes more headache, more stress, more problems, not more money, but more problems. and and unfortunately, it causes, or it leads to an unhealthy lifestyle, and for a lot of people, it leads to early death. And we should be living long. We should be living long, healthy lives.
Yeah, to what you're saying, it reminded me of this idea of crying, and in our community, the concept of men crying is very is not highly thought about.
It's almost like taboo.
Like taboo, right. It's like a taboo thing. And I remember family members like, no, don't cry. Men don't do that, and for a while I thought, this is what I was told. So therefore, this must be true.
Must be true.
So I didn't question it.
Right. True.
Yeah. And so because I didn't question it, it's funny how the brain works. But because I didn't question it, when I would see another male cry, I'm like, they don't do that. What are you doing? Because I was conditioned. I was conditioned by this idea. And pick yourself up, And I it wasn't until therapy that I was like, no, these are healthy emotions. These are necessary, and then in some of the yoga texts it talks about the different kinds of tears, hot tears, cold tears, and what tears mean what. Mm-hmm. And it's mentioned that cold tears are actually really a good sign, like happiness. Hot tears are sadness. So anyway, when I understood that it's okay for me to cry, I was like, this is actually releasing, confirmed, those things which are not good out of the body.
Yeah.
Those feelings and so forth. And so I was having that being consciously competent in this. So it's okay. Now, mind you, it's difficult for me to cry, not because I'm trying to hold myself back, but just because it's just difficult, for the most part.
We can figure out something for you.
Here, take this onion. Start peeling. Let's see what happens now.
We can make some arrangements for you.
So, but this is so working beyond what we were told or what we've seen when we were younger, and developing our own mind, not a mind that was formed by other people's thoughts, perspectives. Because even though that is, there are some things that you want to pick up from your mom or your dad. Like you want that.
Right.
Like, so if anybody knows my parents, my dad's, this is very cool-tempered.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Just mellow. And my mom, if she needs to say something, there's no hesitation. She's gonna say it, And so I realized in my adulthood that both of these are necessary.
Yes.
And so in that sense, I said, okay, I got the best of both worlds. I can channel my dad's kind of just It's all right, you know. But if I need to say something, nobody's stopping me. And so, but realizing when to use what.
That's important. That's very important.
You know.
But it feels good when you use it too.
It does.
I was living in Kansas City. I had to pull one of those cars myself. You know, and you know, it was always nice, but there was one person I actually had to just flex my hood.
Was it Friday?
So I gave him a nice show. I was like, "Arr." Boom, hit the desk. All this dust just came up in the air. It was like, it was beautiful too. Actually, to be honest, when the person left, I was like, wow, that was amazing. This feels so good. I can't wait to do it again.
Somebody make me angry.
I wish you would. Come on.
I wish somebody would.
Can't wait.
Let me at him.
Let me at him. But it actually felt good, you know, you know, for me to just acknowledge that emotion and say, you know what? I think I'm going to use this right now. I consciously and competently used expertly. I expertly used it.
Efficiently.
And it was efficient and effective too. But it felt so good. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, wow, I feel like a new man.
Yeah. Just, you know, that's the thing, knowing what to take from our family, our parents, and what not to take.
Yeah. We have to use our voice. We have to not necessarily be aggressive, but as my mother would say, be assertive.
Be assertive.
You know, and use our voice and speak up for ourselves.
How do you define the difference between aggressive and assertive?
It's like the difference between being reckless and graceful.
Elaborate. Actually, your mom's here right now. Ms. Swift, you wanna elaborate on this real quick?
There are some people who are just outwardly just kind of rude or respectful and just aggressive. When it's unnecessary, or you can say uncalled for. But being assertive is like basically, you know, speaking up for yourself, using your voice, not to, I guess the phrase is, pull the wool over your eyes, or you know, something along those lines. But again, speaking up for yourself and using your voice, you know, compared to someone just being like just unnecessarily heavy-handed.
So like, being aggressive would be like being abrasive.
Aggressive, abrasive, you can use that, yes.
And then, as you say, what was it?
Assertive?
Assertive would be...
you still get the message across.
Like the Danielson technique. Black song.
I'm not going to say anything about that. You're going to get me in trouble. But that cornbread was good, though. It's all in the butter, baby.
So one's smooth, one's rough.
That wasn't on the camera, don't worry.
So, yes, your mom says, yes, assertive is just as Joey says, and aggressive can be overly harsh. Yes,
reckless. That's why I said reckless.
Reckless.
Just abuse of unnecessary, rough and aggressive. You know, someone, it's almost like someone coming in like DMX.
Ah, yes.
When they could have said, well, my good sir, or madam, you know, can we do this, or whatever like that. They're like, yo, what up, dog?
Yeah.
I want this. You better give it to me now. I pity the fool. You know. It doesn't look right when I do it anymore.
Well,
You get the point.
I get it. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, no, this, but this is, but using one's voice and also using one's intelligence allows for us to do what is the best at that time. And this is, so in conclusion to pacifiers, we're a little over time, but in conclusion to pacifiers, there are different types of pacifiers, favorable, unfavorable. So we want to be consciously competent so that we can become unconsciously competent in these areas of our life in which we need to act in such a way that will give us happiness and inspire others by our level of happiness so that they can also move through the level of incompetence to competence to conscious to unconscious. So, so yes. Next week, since we have to talk about the garden, we'll be a little spontaneous next week before we get into the garden series. So, anyway, thank you all so much for your time and
Keep
attention.
flexing.
So, flex on your Fridays.
Flex
you
on.
know.
Flex off.
Stay flexing. And until next time, we will talk to you later. All right.